Well, hey, welcome back to another episode of the Parent Path Podcast, a parenting podcast designed for the parents of X Church and beyond. I'm your host. My name is Jesse. I am a husband, a parent, and a pastor, and one of my favorite things in the entire world is being a dad. And so I love getting to do this podcast to chat with you parents on how we can raise our kids better, or maybe just, if nothing else, commiserate on how challenging it can be sometimes. It's an honor to have you with me today. If you listened last month, I told you exactly the topic we were going to be jumping into this month. And it is November, which means, number one, Merry Christmas. I'm not doing this wait till after Thanksgiving nonsense. Thanksgiving is a holiday in the Christmas season. And so it is officially November. That means Merry Christmas, but also it means it is the season to talk about Thanksgiving and gratitude. And that's exactly what we're going to jump into on today's episode. How we as parents can help coach an attitude of gratitude. I apologize for that cliche, but how we can develop that in our kids. Because if you've been a parent for maybe, let's say, longer than a few years, if you've gotten past maybe the infant stage and you're more into the toddler phase, you have learned that kids are really good at seeing what is wrong, what is missing, or seeing what other people have that is better than what they have. And, you know, if you've gone through a Christmas, a birthday, on a vacation, or something like that, you've probably had the experience of your kid pointing out as lovingly and as graciously as they could, of course, what maybe they didn't like about what they got, what they didn't like, or Jimmy went on a vacation and their house was bigger, or they went to a nicer, or they got a better car, or they have an Xbox and a PS5, and kids are really good at seeing what is missing, what is not as good, and not so good at naturally being grateful. And the reason that kids are not very good at this is very simple. People are not very good at this. Moms and dads, we are just as guilty of this. And so for as much as this conversation is really about helping our kids develop a deeper sense of gratitude in their lives, really all of this is going to be relevant to us as well. The truth of the matter is that gratitude is not something we are naturally great at. We are not pre-programmed for gratitude. It is almost as if most of us are pre-programmed with a bent towards being a little bit cynical or being ungrateful. And so gratitude has to be coached, it has to be developed, and it has to be taught. And from the perspective of our kids, it not only has to be taught, I would say it has to be caught. In other words, they just don't need to hear us tell them about how to be grateful. The most impactful way we could teach them to be grateful is to just be grateful ourselves. To get our conversation started, I want to jump to 1 Thessalonians 5:18. You've probably heard this before if you've been around church for any number of times, or if you are watching this when this episode is fresh. We just came off of a fun Sunday in our church called Fresh Voices, where we got to hear some of the up-and-coming communicators of our house share on this very topic. And so if you're listening when this episode's fresh, 1 Thessalonians 5:18, you heard this recently. It says, "Give thanks in all circumstances." This is a very popular verse this time of year. And it's a really important verse because the truth of the matter is we are not really good at being thankful all the time. And the little nuance here that, again, you've probably heard before is it is give thanks in all circumstances, not give thanks for all circumstances. And the truth that we can latch onto there is that gratitude is not dependent on your circumstances. It is not, I'm thankful that I'm in this season, I'm thankful I'm this. No, it is an attitude, it's a posture that we carry into our lives no matter the circumstances that are happening around us. Instead of being, oh, I'm grateful for this situation or this stuff, it is a posture of our heart. And in Philippians, we actually see Paul dive deeper into this in Philippians 4, verses 11 through 13, which Philippians 4:13 might be one of the most quoted verses of Scripture, second to probably John 3:16. 15. And in my opinion, it's taken a little bit out of context. So let's read it in its full context. Paul here says, "Not that I have everything I need, for I have learned to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live with almost nothing, or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or with little." And then here's verse 13. "For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength." Did you know that verse is way more closely associated with gratitude and having a heart posture of gratitude in every season than it is with, let's say, sports, which is where we see this pop up. Maybe most often what Paul is saying here is that I have unlocked the secret to living with contentment or with peace in every single circumstance. There is a way to be grateful with little or with much. What does this have to do with parenting? Because our kids are going to struggle to adopt that attitude of being grateful in every season, in every situation, if they never see it in us. Like I said a moment ago, gratitude is something that is more caught than taught. Our kids will pick up how we respond when things don't go our way. It is something that they can catch. Gratitude is something they can catch when life is easy and when life is messy. And so just a question for maybe all of us to ponder for a second is, when was the last time your kids saw you thank God in the midst of a difficult situation? I think that's a really convicting question. When was the last time my children saw me give thanks to God, or saw me at least have some sort of expression of gratitude in the middle of a hard situation or a hard season, when the car has broken down, when the house is a wreck, fill in the blank, when things are hard? Maybe look at that as an opportunity to show your kids in the midst of that how to be grateful. So, gratitude is not connected to our situations. It's a posture of our heart. Now, let's talk a little bit more in detail how we can begin to coach this, not only in ourselves, but in our kids. Psalm 100 verse 4 says, "Enter his gates with thanksgiving." I like the way the Message paraphrase says it. It says, "Enter into his presence with the password thank you." Gratitude for us is much like a seed, or maybe gratitude for our kids is much like a seed. It starts out very small and very hidden, but over the course of time, when it is nurtured, watered, and cared for, it can be something that grows into a strong and healthy plant or fruit in their lives. And so what are the ways we can nurture them to start using this password of thank you? I have 3 ways we can integrate this into our household rhythms, and the preacher in me could not help but to make these all words that start with the letter R. And so, number 1, 3 ways we can help gratitude grow in our house. Number 1 is to create a rhythm. Create some kind of rhythm in your household where you are drawing the attention of your family back to being grateful for something in some way, somehow, some way, shape, or form. Being grateful. So maybe that is, we talked last month about the importance of family dinners. Maybe one family dinner per week, maybe Thankful Thursdays are going to be a thing in your household where, we're going to focus the conversation that night about just saying things that we're thankful for. What's something in the last week that you are happy about? What is, a friend that's really been blessing you in your life? Maybe it's at bedtime during, you're saying a bedtime prayer. Sometimes I'll do this with my children. I'll ask them the question, is there anything you want to say thank you to God for from your day or recently? And admittedly, they usually say, no. And, it's bedtime, and so I'm not going to push the issue. But it's still a rhythm of let's draw it back to let's say thank you for things in our life. And ultimately, who do we have to thank for the good things in our life? We have God to thank for the good things in our life. So, number one, we're going to create a rhythm. Number two, we're going to try and lead them to reflection. And the way we do that is because reflection sounds like a big word to try and ask my 4-year-old to do. Simply what I'm trying to say is we're going to ask some good questions that are going to try and lead them to the place of being thankful. So simple questions like, hey, what made you smile today? What made you happy? What made you giggle? Is there anything you were really excited about today? Maybe as they get a little bit older, you can ask some maybe more relational geared questions. Who was somebody that helped you today? Or did a person make you smile? What in your life today really brought about some happiness? Because what you're doing in the midst of maybe even a day where they had a challenging day, or they lost, the game, or they got cut from the play, or whatever, in the midst of that, you can still ask some good questions to say, hey, in the middle of all of this, what are some things you can be grateful for? Because whatever you focus on is going to become bigger in your mind. The same way, moms and dad, this is true for us. Whatever you focus on becomes heightened. The same is true for your kids. And so by asking them just some simple questions, you can help direct those thoughts, and you'll actually have more success in directing their thoughts by asking a leading question than it is to, hey, stop thinking about that. You should really think about what you have to be grateful for. That does not work. Ask some simple questions and then lead them to kind of finding it on their own almost. So create a rhythm, lead them into reflection. And then number 3, we want to reframe the moments in their life. When kids complain, because they're going to, because adults complain, people complain, teach them to think about something they can be grateful for in the midst of it. And let me show you a practical way that I did this recently with one of my sons. One of my boys is very much like his father in that he doesn't really like to leave the house, especially in a busier time where we're going to and from places a lot. He is a homebody, and I can appreciate that, and I can empathize with it. And recently we were heading over to a friend's house to do it. They were having a little celebration, and we were going to go. We're going to celebrate with them because that is also part of being a family. And being a part of the church community. When one person celebrates, we all celebrate. So we were going over there to celebrate with them. And he, of course, did not want to go, which is not an uncommon thing in our household. He didn't want to go, and I really, honestly, I felt it for him. We had been busy that week, and honestly, I wanted to stay home too. And so we, push him to come and, kind of have to force him to, as I'm sure you all have done as well. And one of the things I mentioned to him was, when we go to stuff like this, by the time you get there and you see your buddies and you see your friends and you start hanging out and playing and having a good time, you're going to be glad that you came. And this time I happen to be right on the money with that. We get there. He starts having fun, starts playing, and then later on the way home, he says, and I was shocked, this never happens. This was one of those parenting moments that you dream of happening and only happens maybe once in a blue moon. It's like Haley's Comet, once in a lifetime kind of thing that happens. He said, you know what, Dad, you were actually right. I am glad that I went. That was fun. I enjoyed hanging out with my friends. And so that actually opened the door for me to reframe this tension that he feels when he doesn't want to leave the house. Like, buddy, I get it. I really do get like wanting to be home and stay home. I'm naturally introverted. I like to be a homebody, and he seems to be following in my footsteps in that. Like, buddy, I totally get it, and I want to be home too, and I want to hang out on the couch and play video games and just be chill and all that. But also, isn't it really cool that we have, so many friends in our lives? Like that we had a friend that we had a reason to celebrate today and hang out and have fun with them, and we can go to their house and they love us and we love them. Isn't that like a great thing? If we didn't have that, if we never had a reason to leave the house, that would be kind of boring. That would be a bummer. And just that simple, let's try to reframe. Yes, I get sometimes it's annoying to leave the house when you don't want to, but also think about never having to leave the house, never having any friends to go hang out with. Like, be grateful that we have these. And so just a little moment of reframing, not trying to guilt trip him to say, well, you didn't want to leave the house, man. What if you didn't have me? You're not that. I get it. I feel you. But at the end of the day, isn't it great we've got friends that we can go hang out? Just a simple reframing. And I'd love to say, man, it was like light bulbs went off in his head and it was great. And now we never have an issue with him wanting to leave the house. And no, that's not how it is. We're planting a little seed of gratitude and trusting that over time, as we continue to do that and water those seeds and nurture them and model it with our own lives, we are going to help build a deeper sense of gratitude in our children's lives. So, to sum up, gratitude is not something that is natural. There's nothing wrong with your kid. They're not ungrateful. They're not a brat. They're not any of this. They're a human being. Human beings are not very good at being grateful. It is a skill that has to be learned. And one of the ways they learn it is when we develop it in ourselves. When we model it with our lives, that is going to help them catch on to how to be grateful in their lives. So, ask yourself the question, when was the last time your kids saw you thank God in the midst of something hard? And then 3 simple ways that we can try to instill an attitude of gratitude in our family life is to create a rhythm of it, lead them to reflection, and then reframe some moments in our life. And slowly but surely over time, we're going to see gratitude become a deeper part of their lives. And even though this is the time of year where we tend to focus on this, because it's natural, we're headed into Thanksgiving and the holidays, this is the time of year to think about it. This is not the only time of year we should be leading our kids in this. Gratitude is not a one-time talk or a seasonal event. It is a lifelong tone that we should seek to set in our households. And then before we jump into what's going on in XKIDS this month, one last thought that I want to leave you with. When you're home, moms and dads, when it is full of small, honest moments of gratitude, you are not just teaching good manners. What you're actually doing is teaching worship. That, at the end of the day, is the heart that we're trying to instill in our kids, is a heart of worship, to understand that every good and perfect gift comes from God. And so when we are grateful, we're not just having good manners, which we are, and it's good. Everybody likes to be around somebody that has good manners and is grateful and is thankful. But truly what we are doing is we are teaching an attitude of worship in our children. Now, on to what is happening in November in XKIDS, in Explorers and Heroes. And again, just if you're ever confused about that age breakdown thing, we've got 4 categories of ages in XKIDS. We start out with Dreamers. That is our nursery area. That is 6 weeks old right up until they turn 2 years old. That's Dreamers. And in there, we don't do a ton of structured curriculum because they're little. Really what we're trying to teach them is church is a fun and safe place for them to go. Once they turn 2, though, they move up into Explorers. The Explorers are a 2 and 3-year-old age, and then they move into Heroes when they turn 4. And the Explorers and Heroes do the same basic curriculum. And this is what they are jumping into in the month of November. Their series is called Going on a Picnic. And let me read you the overview of it. There is power in a thankful heart, sort of just what we just talked about. Consider when a heart focuses on what it does not have. It is discontent and unhappy. But when a heart focuses on being thankful for everything, it is content and joyful. Let's choose a life of joy and give thanks to the Lord with our whole heart. That is what we are going to be trying to instill in the little ones over this month. So this is an incredible month where moms and dads in the church can come together and work to try and build this foundation in the life of our kids, sort of like we talked all the way back in episode 1. So some of the stories we're going to touch on are Ruth, Daniel in the lion's den, when God provided manna and quail for the Israelites in the desert. We're going to talk about Elisha, and we're going to talk about some of David's life as well. And if you'd like to see the exact parts of their stories that we're going to jump into, the actual scripture reference, so that maybe you could learn some of these stories along with your kids, you can go to the the Parent Resources tab in the XChurch app. All you got to do is go right below where you find your sermon notes on Sunday mornings. So download the XChurch app if you haven't. Set up your profile. It's real simple. And then hit the little cross button that is at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. The second little box down from the top says Parent Resources. Click that, and you're going to find everything I'm talking about right now, plus all the extra stuff, so you can dive in deeper throughout the week with your family. The bottom line of this series, Going on a Picnic, is I can thank God for everything. Again, we're trying to teach the kids that, hey, thankfulness isn't directly connected to getting the perfect gift at Christmas time or exactly what you wanted for your birthday or being picked first in gym class or whatever it is. It is really an attitude that you can carry throughout your entire life. And their memory verse this month is Psalm 111:1. Very easy reference to remember. It's 1:1:1:1. I will give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart. And like I said, you can find all of that plus a little extra and some good conversation starters for each week of this series on the Parent Resource tab in the XChurch app. And now moving up into the elementary age years, kindergarten through 5th grade, they fall into the Legends category. That would be either the purple room or the blue room down at the end of the hallway. Their series this month is called Bedrock, and all the Minecraft parents maybe get the subtle nod to Minecraft by calling it Bedrock. Building confidence in God block by block is what we are jumping into with them. Let me read you the overview. Trying to do something on your own is difficult. When we look at God's big story, we can see that no matter the situation, when we follow God, we can have confidence that He is with us. And so some of the stories we'll be looking at over the course of the month are Elijah and the prophets, Jonah, the great fish, Daniel in the lion's den, Esther, and Nehemiah. And like I mentioned, if you want to maybe know more specifics about what part of each of those stories we're diving into, you can find the exact scripture references in the Parent Resource page on the XChurch app. Their memory verse this month is Isaiah 40, verse 31. Those who trust in the Lord will receive new strength. They will fly as high as eagles. They will run and not get tired. They will walk and not grow weak. And you can find all of this plus some conversation starters so that you can continue this conversation on the way home from church on Sunday, at dinner time on Tuesday, or at bedtime on Friday. Whenever works for your family, that is available to you. Please take advantage of those resources. And so I encourage you, try to embrace a spirit of gratitude over the next month and let your kids see it. Work on it internally, but then let it flow out to where your kids can actually watch it and see it modeled in you, because when it comes to gratitude, and frankly, when it comes to all things of faith and just growing to be a healthy, strong adult, a lot more is caught than taught. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this podcast with somebody you think might find it helpful. Next month, we are headed into December, which is wild because I feel like last week was January, but we're already at the end of the year. We're going to be talking about Advent. How can we include our kids in the season of Advent? And the expectancy of the birth of Christ is really kind of what Advent is meant to draw us to, that the Christmas season is not just about the lights and, polar bears with Coca-Cola and presents. While all of that is awesome and we love all of that, really what this season of year, a time of the year can do for us is to draw us to remember the importance and the significance and the magnitude of Jesus, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, taking on flesh, stepping out of heaven and onto earth as a small child. And so we're going to talk about how we can teach our kids about that. So I am looking forward to that, and I'll let you in on a little sneak peek. There may or may not be something that our church is going to have available to you, parents and all people that might actually help you do that. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to get in trouble by announcing something too early, but I'm excited for it, and I'm excited to have that conversation with you next month. See you then.